Hey guys, it's Nicole. If you know me or really know anything about me at all, if you've heard anything about me at all, this is probably the video that you've been waiting for. I got a nose job. I've spent the past 2.5 years of my life anticipating the backlash that putting this out on YouTube would get me. Maybe you guys will be nice. No one's gonna be nice! It's YouTube! This was literally my first comment that I've ever gotten on a video. Maybe you won't. I don't know. First of all, I just want to say, if you're going to click on this video and comment without watching it, without hearing what I have to say and hearing my story and my reasoning behind this, just don't, please. If this is something that bothers you, don't watch. I know we all have our own opinions, but at the end of the day, this is what I chose to do. And I'm not saying everyone should go get plastic surgery, but if it's something that someone wants to do, why not? I advocate for that because I have personally experienced how much this has completely changed my life, changed the way that people treat me. If you can modify something on your body to make you feel completely comfortable with yourself, and you have the means to do that, then absolutely go for it. And I know there's gonna be people named like Karen who work at Kohl's, and they're gonna see this and comment like, "You're a bad influence, my little daughter watch this and now she's gonna grow up and be like a fake bitch." Karen, your daughter's responsible for her own life choices. I play no part in the choices that she makes. There's an entire timeline to this of, you know, me getting the idea to get this. No one said anything about my nose when I was younger, but around 5th and 6th grade, I was growing up and my nose was growing as well. I ended up going to 3 separate middle schools. And first, I want to talk about my 7th grade year because this is something that absolutely crushed me as a person. I was bullied very, very badly in 7th grade. And this started happening literally the first day that I entered this school. Every comment that was made was directed at my nose. And you know, when you have so many people telling you, like, you're ugly, that's a horrible thing. And there's no way that I can really describe how horrific it was. In that 7th grade year, while I was 12 years old, 13 years old, that's when I really started researching nose jobs, which is so sad because you think about this, you have a really, really young, impressionable, you know, preteen, and this is someone that's being bullied so badly that I was willing to go to any extent to fix my nose. There were certain tricks that I would try, and I would Google all these things, you know, how to make your nose smaller. I would take hair barrettes, the ones that you can clip open, and put them on my nose, like this, to thin it out. And I would leave those on overnight. Other nights I would fall asleep with tape on my nose, and I would put it at the very bottom and bring it all the way up here so that my nose would lift, because one of my biggest concerns was that it was droopy. Having such hateful comments consistently spoken to you directly to your face or behind your back or posted online, and all these things were happening to me. The damage that did was so incredibly traumatic. It got to the point where, you know, I'm 13 years old and I wouldn't look in the mirror until I like messed my hair up or like went like did something with my face, so that when I looked in the mirror I could tell myself, don't worry, you looked better when you were in school because you just messed what you looked like up, so you didn't actually look this bad. And in that way I was trying to trick my mind into thinking, you know, this isn't really you. No one saw you looking this bad. It was a Catholic school, so we weren't allowed to wear makeup. But I would steal a dark brown eyeshadow from my mom in the morning and take the little foam applicator and I would draw contour lines down my nose. And none of this was common knowledge like it is now with, you know, contouring, highlighting, how to make your face look slimmer. None of that was popular at the time. I would go into school with brown lines drawn down my nose, and I would try to make it look as subtle as possible, and probably people noticed, maybe they didn't. There were days that my mom would drive me to school and I would just start bawling because there was that pull down mirror in the car, and I would pull it down and I would just look at myself and cry. And the school was about 5 minutes from my house, so it wasn't a big deal. And, you know, my mom would drive me back because I was in no state to go into the classroom hysterically crying because I hated myself so much. But people said really terrible things to me all the time. This continued in 8th grade, and then I went to high school. My 9th grade year was absolutely horrific. There were people that would come up to me in the hallway and just grab my nose. People that I didn't know would approach me and ask me like what I was, you know, what race are you, what ethnicity are you, like how did that happen? At the moment, I like to clarify, people still ask me what I am. I guess my race is a little ambiguous. I'm white. My mom is 100% Italian, so I am half Italian. My dad was adopted, so we don't know what percentage of German and Swedish he is, but he's white. I'm normally asked if I'm Persian or the general, some sort of Hispanic. But people would ask me, you know, if I was Jewish. It's a religion, but it's also associated with a specific group of people. I've had people legitimately come up to me and say things like, did your family die in the Holocaust? You should have burned with them. Swordfish and Pinocchio were popular terms as well. I remember most clearly, though, walking through the hallway and a guy shouting at me, "Damn, she got nostrils." There were people that would send me anonymous messages saying things like, "You'd be pretty if it wasn't for that nose," or "Guys would like you if it wasn't for that nose of yours." And this knocked my confidence down so incredibly low. I would miss a lot of days of school my freshman year, my sophomore year as well, because things wouldn't get any better. It was just something that I was so incredibly insecure about. I have naturally curly hair. I would straighten my hair every day because people saw dark curly hair and a big nose, and they just started making fun of it. I had conducted research on different surgeons since 7th grade, but I knew that you couldn't get a nose job, or most doctors wouldn't operate on you until you were at least 16 because your nose is still growing up until that point. By the end of my sophomore year, things were so incredibly bad, and I know a lot of people think that it's ridiculous that my parents would support this kind of thing in the first place, but you have to understand that they've spent years watching their daughter come home hysterically crying from school because these people are harassing her, telling her terrible things. I have a very bad history of anxiety, OCD, depression, all that. I didn't like leaving the house because I felt like people would look at me strange. You know, I couldn't walk past a group of people laughing without having an anxiety attack because I thought they were laughing at me, because I was so used to being laughed at all the time. I ended up buying a plastic surgery app, and I would edit every picture of me, save it, every photo that was taken of me or that I took of myself. I would edit my nose, save that version, and delete the original, so that if I was looking through my camera roll, I could look and tell myself, oh, it's okay, Nicole, like, you're still kind of cute. You don't actually look this bad. So my sophomore year of high school, again, was very bad, and I finally turned 16. I had 2 more consultations set up, and I went to the first one. I liked the doctor, but he didn't seem like the one for me, so I went to the second consultation that year, my 3rd consultation in total, and I absolutely loved this doctor. The thing is that nose jobs are very expensive. I believe it was somewhere around $9,000. My family does not have that kind of money to drop, and I really want to emphasize that this isn't something that we did on a whim or just because I just wanted to. It's not something that happened because I'm pretentious or stuck up, and I know a lot of people will get that impression just looking at me because of the way that I do my makeup, the way that I present myself, but the way that I present myself is very different than who I am as a person. And my parents realized, you know, going $9,000 into debt for this is worth it to save their daughter. Because this is something that crushed me so deep to my core that everything was difficult. So my parents were trying to figure out a way to make it a little bit cheaper, and the doctor let them know that someone had actually ended up canceling their appointment, so a little bit of the price could be reduced. Normally you have to wait quite a while before all of this happens, but it would only be at this reduced price if I took their specific appointment spot, which was 9 days after this consultation. At that point, I was faced with, I can do this in 9 days, or I can suffer a lot more. And I made the decision that I was going to go through with it. We put the payment down, so there was no way that I could back out anymore. And 9 days later, I went in for surgery. My birthday is on March 30th. I had the surgery on June 24th, I believe. So I was a little bit over 16 at the time. But I remember waking up after the anesthetics wore off, and the first thing that I thought and the first thing that I said was, am I pretty yet? And that's so sad that it had to come down to that I was so crushed as a person that was like the first thing that came to mind. Not was it successful or am I okay, but It was a how do I look? So that was the reasoning behind it. Now I kind of want to talk about, recovery, because I know a lot of people come to me with questions about this. I'd like to provide as much information as possible. So the recovery time was about a week. However, my nose was very, very swollen. I want to say up until probably a year and a half later, and even a little bit more than that. So what they did to my nose was basically they cut here and here. The first few days I was using something called drip pads. My mom was the one that was taking care of me, and she would have to attach these like cotton strips to the bottom of my nose to catch all the blood that was leaking out. And that stopped after a few days. So this is what my nose looks like before, and I did purposely choose the worst pictures of me that I could find to kind of emphasize how bad it was. It really did not fit my face. So the pictures are going to start to get a little bit graphic. This is what the drip pad looks like. We had to hook it behind my ear to have it stay on. The second and third day I started developing a black eye, which I was told would probably happen. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. It wasn't horrific. I said that without having gone back to look at old photos, and now that I see it, it was pretty horrific. Okay, so I record on my phone. I'm on like selfie mode right now, so I can show you guys what's good with all this. This is what my nostrils looked like a few days after, and I'm sorry because I definitely look kind of like Frankenstein. One was way more swollen than the other, and my nose now is still, my nostrils are a little bit uneven. That's because my nostrils have always been uneven, and he took the exact same amount off of both sides, so now it's a smaller unevenness. Also, it's kind of different from one side to the other. Like if I look here, it's more swoopy. I don't know if you can see because I have a hat on and the shadow is on my face. But if I turn this way, there's more of a, I don't want to say a hump because it's not a hump, but it is. This is my attempt to model my nose. This is what it looks like when I turn to the side and the other side. I've also gotten comments from a lot of people, and they say that the only thing that really changed is the way that I do my makeup, so I will insert a picture of me without makeup here because I know it is a drastic change, but it was in my face, not the way that I do my makeup. I literally look exactly like you would expect me to without makeup. Also, I will point out my lips definitely do look bigger. I did not get my lips done. I was actually suspicious that something happened to them while I wasn't aware of it, like maybe he injected me while I didn't know. False, because what ended up happening is when they lifted my nose, the skin from my lip lifted as well, so it gave the illusion of having a bigger upper lip. It didn't hurt, but I spent a week feeling like I had a head cold, because in that way, I was breathing out of my mouth, my nose was too stuffy. A few days after the surgery, I had some stitches taken out. I think a week later is when I got my cast removed, and my nose was very, very swollen at this time, but you could still see such a difference, and I remember crying so much, just tears of joy, seeing myself the way that I had wanted to be seen. Probably the most inconvenient thing about the surgery was that it really hurt to laugh because this entire area was so numb. My upper lip was like swollen, so I couldn't really smile properly. You can see here how swollen and undefined my nose was and how my upper lip curled underneath my mouth because everything was frozen, and it literally looked like I had no lip at all. There were also nights that I woke myself up because I flail around a lot in my sleep, and I would accidentally hit myself in the nose or uppercut myself, and it would hurt so bad that I would wake myself up out of my sleep crying because it was so painful. We considered having me switch high schools after I got the surgery so that it would be a fresh start and no one would know. However, we didn't have the money to send me to a private school, so I had to continue going to this public school. My junior year was significantly better than, freshman, sophomore year, but there were still people that would make comments about my nose. And I want to say that that was because either they still associated me with having a large nose and would just kind of comment without really looking at me because no one expects that I would have done anything. No one really made that many comments on the fact that I had a surgery because I kept it relatively on the low my junior year. Senior year, however, if there was an opposite term for peaking in high school, that would be me. I crashed and burned. So in our yearbook, there were senior superlatives that you could vote people for, and I decided to run for biggest glow up. Due to me being a plastic ass bitch, everyone kind of started talking about this, getting angry. The people that did know that I had surgery told more people So everyone knew. And everyone hated me. Who gets a nose job in high school? How spoiled are you? Okay, well, bitch. Every year that I lived became the new worst year of my life, so now you know. This was something that I felt was incredibly important, and my parents felt were incredibly important. I am so incredibly grateful to them that they supported me through this, and that this is something that they helped me deal with instead of saying, no, suffer through it on your own or pay for it yourself. That they really understood how much of a toll that this was taking on me emotionally, how this was affecting my academics because I would stop going to school or I just couldn't focus in class, I couldn't do my homework. At this point in my life now, I'm very open about it, and I love answering questions that people have. I love helping other people out, other people that are struggling with their self-esteem and their confidence. I've been told by a lot of people that I don't look like an approachable person, or that I look like I'd be very mean or a bitch. I'm very approachable. You can come talk to me. I'm a nice person. Like, I will speak to you. I didn't grow up, you know, with a ton of confidence or self-love. All of this is new to me. I remember as a young teenager, you know, searching YouTube for other teenagers that had gotten nose jobs because I wanted to feel like I wasn't the only one. I would search for celebrities that have had plastic surgery because it was more comfortable seeing this person that I look up to, oh, they've done it too, so it's not that bad, because plastic surgery has such a stigma around it. And you really have to think, why is plastic surgery considered so bad? And yet people do things like cosmetic dentistry. And that doesn't matter. People get veneers all the time, but it's cosmetic. A nose job is cosmetic. You know, in some cases, braces are used only cosmetically. If you're going to complain about one, you have to complain about the other as well. They're based off the exact same concept. To anyone that needs to hear it, you are great, you are beautiful, you are loved. You can never please everyone. If this helped you in any way, or you think I'm a fraud-ass bitch, like this video, share, comment, subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye. I also want to add that if anyone has any questions for me, like, please talk to me. I will totally answer anything. I got you. We can be fraud-ass bitches together, so. Yeah, okay, bye.
Put your hands to the constellations. The way you look should be a sin. You my sensation. I know I'm preaching to the congregation.
Save it as the edit. Period. My appearance.